In a time when all things vegan are gaining so much attention, maybe we should ask, what about soy as a skincare ingredient? Is it something which skin can understand? It has benefits? Does it pose any risks? And above all, should you consider including some soy derivatives in your skincare? Hi skincare people, all skincare people of the world, Custodio here, a traveler asking the question, what is that skin wanted before marketing got in the way? So I guess the question today is, does our skin want soy in our skincare? Soy, as all legumes, it's very nutrient dense plant material. It's not out of the blue that vegans normally, one way or another, will rely and go back to soy as their main protein source. This, of course, because soy offers these rich amino acid combinations which make rich nutrient-dense proteins. By no means I'm implying they can be compared to the proteins occurring in the animal-based material, but as plant-based is probably one of the most exciting sources of protein. So inky names when it comes to soy in this protein amino acid direction will be names like hydrolyzed soy protein, soy hydrolyzed extract, all these with different variations of purity. Soy hydrolyzed protein, it's the most abundant and the most dense. Also often you will find fermented soy, which is a biotechnological and very much more bioavailable form of soy derivatives, which is like a pre-digested form of the protein to make it more accessible and easier to penetrate in the skin. You know, when we talk biotechnology, we are basically talking of a glorified word for fermented work around an ingredient where that plant extract or that raw material is placed together with yeasts, mushrooms, at times also enzymes to pre-digest and make them more accessible. So this is what biotechnology is. If you are curious about these topics, I have this video here which title is Why Your Skincare Isn't Working, where I try to build ideas around fermentation and biotechnology, which we Swiss brands are very keen on. Maybe it's also a curiosity why soy fermented and soy derivatives are actually very much present in Japanese skincare and Swiss skincare. Maybe we'll draw some light in the end of the video. So other than proteins, soy it's also a source of phospholipids. Phospholipids being the lipids that make up our cell membrane material. So a lot of cells, including the keratinocytes in the case of the epidermis, are made of phospholipids. The more quality and quantity you have in these phospholipids, the better exchange your cells can have. So think membrane as skin. So it's the cell's skin which is built on phospholipids. Having more of those and the better quality of those available will hydrate the cellular membranes. It's not hydration in the proper sense, but it's better osmotic exchange with the materials around them. So inky names again, all these phospholipids can be called phospholipids, which might come from soy or from other materials, also sunflower oil, many other sources of plant-based oils. Can also be soy lecithin, which is then a more condensed form of these phospholipids, which also work as a natural emulsifier. So one of the beauties of soy lecithin and phospholipids from soy is that they also help all these water and oil elements to bind in a better way. As an inky, soy oil can also be a source of these phospholipids, but from these possibilities, phospholipids, soy lecithin, soy oil is by far the most bulky, it's the most affordable. So I would say if your intention is to find phospholipids, they will be there, but they will be there in diminutive fractions. What I also like about soy proteins and soy lecithin is that they are also a good source of trace elements and minerals. So minerals that that can work as catalyzers. They can help a lot of chemical, natural cascades in the things that our cells are supposed to do. So thinking about elements like zinc, magnesium, manganese, iron, they are also quite available in soy. And as a last family of phytochemicals fractions within soy, we have isoflavones. And here we really talk mature skin conditions, because isoflavones are one of the most stable, interesting antioxidants to face alterations and losses in mature skin conditions. They are also sometimes referred as phytoestrogens, because they do have some molecular resemblances with the human estrogens. When we think topically, I think is beyond cartoonish to believe in a very active effect as compensating hormonal losses for mature skin. I know that a lot of products containing soy are positioned as such due to their isoflavones. I think it's due to their potential as antioxidants, very bold antioxidants, also for peroxide species, which are free radicals that typically affect a lot of cellular membranes from more mature skin. So genistein being another name you can find in the INCI as one specific isoflavone, and the more typical isoflavone in soy. Genistein, it's maybe the golden standard for antioxidants for mature skin, exactly for answering the type of oxidation stress which can affect the collapse of mature skin due to hormonal changes. Doesn't mean that the genistein per se will compensate those hormonal changes. What it will do is, has proven both in vivo and in vitro, there's quite some solid evidence about its antioxidant effect, also reversing not only the UV damage and the stress coming from UV exposure, but even the pigmentation unevenness, problems due to hormonal changes that can lead to hyperpigmentation. Genistein, it's one of the tools in the box to fight those pigmentation problems. So a very interesting antioxidant. If you are in a mature skin condition, this is something you should consider. I think all these are the reasons why I think, and I said it in written opening of the video, that we are talking about a logical skincare ingredient. I see if we look at all these INCI names and all their possibilities, so a supply of proteins, a supply of phospholipids, a supply of isoflavones, clearly soy becomes a logical skincare ingredient. There is no way around it. Why should there be a way around it? In Swissline, my brand, in Swiss skincare in general, we are quite heavy-handed on soy. Doesn't mean that we don't produce products without soy, but we use quite a lot of derivatives, just because based on evidence of the benefits and the risks come then from what we are addressing now. There is no crop in the planet which is more genetic modified than soy. So of course this puts pressure on the formulation and the manufacturing. How do we source soy? In terms of topical use of soy, there is quite a lot, because demand also triggers supply. So we have access, at least in Europe where I'm based, we have access to quite a lot of no GMO certified extracts and ingredients coming from soy. So the soy we use for our skincare, it's obtained from laboratories which are based in France or in Italy, and the crops are all sourced also locally, and they are no GMO certified. When it comes to food, I think the chain tends to be a much wider chain, and then of course you should also be discerning and demanding, and I think you should really look not for generic soy containing food, but for food being based in soy, which is also non-GMO certified, should GMO be a concern for you. And as I'm talking about my brand, there is always this passionate side about what you do, you want to share it. All this series, which is coming now to an end, the Perfect Formula Pyramid, you know that has been building this pyramid, which in case this is your first video in the series, you don't know what I'm talking about. In case you've been watching other videos, you know by far I'm always like the broken record talking about the pyramid. So we built all these layers of the pyramid. If it's the first time, please rewind and go check, because there are as many videos as ingredients in the pyramid. And today we are at the tip of the pyramid, so together with the growth factors we have that ingredient called Selactel. Well, Selactel is a signature ingredient at Swissline, but what matters is that it's essentially built on soy and soy derivatives. So you will have there the hydrolyzed soy proteins, you will have also some phospholipids in some of the products, isoflavones, genistein. And since we talk about brand, I always want to share the magic and give you some products. So the same way Elena from Slovakia, beautiful Elena, got her Lux Lift cream of her choice because she left some comments on the video about growth factors. I'm giving you today, because I'm generous enough today, being the last video in this series, the Swiss Cure, which is the most intensive cure we have ever done at Swissline. So this is basically an exercise on soy, different ingredients, including a very high concentration of genistein, so that isoflavone. This is thinking about mature skin conditions and skin which is already facing some signs of aging. Other brands, other products, soy-based, I would say go Japanese direction, as I already mentioned, maybe some Korean, but Japanese even more so. I would even say, for the sake of having a more certified type of soy, brands like Shiseido, brands like SK2, Clé de Peau. So I know I'm staying very much above the clouds in terms of price positioning. You also have Adalabo if you want to come to a lower price point. So beautiful products based on hyaluronic acid, and also in the gold line containing some fermented soy type of ingredients. So how can you get your hands on this Swiss Cure box? As always, leave some comments below, share ideas. Did you ever try products containing soy, or you didn't? Do you have question marks? Are there those question marks coming from the food side of things? Let's address that. So I already said it, the most genetic modified crop. So I think you should have reserves about going soy all the way as your main protein source. If you are a vegan, no stress brought to you at all. I mean, I've been vegan for 5 years. I'm no longer vegan for the last 1.5 years, but I know what it takes as one guideline. So one thing are the certified non-GMO products, as opposed to those more generic supermarket bulky soy milks that you don't know exactly where they come from. So search for some certifications in the product, but also fermented soy foods are always safer than the more raw versions of the food. So foods like tempeh, tofu, the fermentation process itself kinds of cleans up in case you'd have some less organic type of trace elements coming from pesticides, coming from sprayed crops. Fermentation helps a lot to clean it up. This is it for the perfect formula. I have announced you some time ago the makers and shakers as the next series to replace these. The idea is to talk about behind the scenes, how products are developed. I'm just on hold for the lockdown and the measures in Switzerland to allow me to travel a little bit, to go to the labs, to interact with people. So it's not forgotten, it's there. As much as the promise I made, the ties, it's also not forgotten. So we are closing with one last Chanel tie. We did 20 something ties, as many as videos we did, and I still have some in the collection, maybe for another series. This Chanel tie, those of you who know the channel, I always like, when I remember, sometimes I forget about it, to talk a bit anecdotal information. This is actually the tie I got when I was 23 years old, and I got my first job at Chanel as a trainer, educator. And the first time I went to Paris to do my old training, I had these in the hotel room. So it's like 23 years old, I'm 50 now, and I still love this tie. As much as I think I begin to love. Some of you, those of you which interact, so please get noticed. Send me back something. Maybe you get a nice box of Swiss Cure Ampoules. That's a way to say no to boring skincare. Ciao, see you next week. With ampoules, without ampoules, with ties, without ties, I would love to have you following the channel. It would make me happy, and I think sometimes maybe something useful comes out of this.